Yo, what's poppin' guys, Sizzle here, and today we're taking a look at the MP7 skins in CSGO to try and figure out what the best one is. First off, we have stock. It's, stock. It's got a nice grayscale, I guess. A lot of, scratches and marks all over the place, though, and on the whole, it's not really that clean or anything. So, it's your average, low D tier, stock skin. So, for that, I think I'm gonna put the stock skin, which I believe is this one, at the bottom of D tier. It's really not that good. This is one of those weapons where you kind of want a skin to replace it. Then we have our first actual skin, the Groundwater, and it's basically, it's a bit cleaner, right? You have solid colors instead of like one color with a bunch of scratches and stuff. There's very few scratches on here. But the problem is, the color scheme is just not great. It's super dull. The colors go together somewhat, but not amazingly or anything. It's just alright. I'd say it's probably a high D tier, low C tier type of situation. And in this case, I'm gonna put low C tier for now, but no, it can move down later depending on how good the other skins are. All the skin tier lists are relative to the other skins in the collection or the weapon or whatever. Then we have the MP7 Army Recon. And this thing's just awful. It looks like people just like put a bunch of spray paint on it randomly, and then pretty bad colors too. Just an awful pattern with awful colors. There's no reason I could really see myself using this. So for me, it's just a simple F tier. No real questions about that. Then we have the Forest DD Pet. It's usual DD Pet, like pixelated camo skin. I think this one kind of works as an actual camo skin, but like I always say, I just don't like camo skins, and this is just no exception. It's a semi-decent camo skin, so I'll give it credit for that and not put in F tier, but it's really it's nothing impressive. I think it's just a very, very low D tier. Then next up we have the MP7 Olive Blade, and they tried something here. This is a pattern I haven't seen much. It's from the Baggage collection. That's where this pattern's used a bit. But I think the colors they used here and the pattern just make it not stand out. Especially we've only looked at like, what, 3, 4 MP7 skins? I feel like all of them have this exact same color scheme. And if I'm going to use these colors, I'd much rather have the cleanliness of the Groundwater instead of this thing. So for me, this is actually an F tier just because it's outclassed by another skin, in this case the Groundwater. And most likely a lot of the other skins, just based on the preview alone, there's a lot of similar repeating color schemes. But, if I was being real, this would be like a D tier. This is just infinitely worse, so, why would you use it? Next up, we have the MP7 Asterion. And this one's pretty interesting. You have like a nice blue maze going through the whole thing. It's like weirdly dull, but the colors are also pretty unique. It reminds me like a poisonous frog or whatever. I really do like the color of blue, the colors of blue used here, and just the way the pattern goes together on the skin actually looks really nice in my opinion. I couldn't really tell you why. But nothing too insane. I think it's just a solid, high C tier. It's a pretty decent looking skin, and it, applies to the whole skin and everything, and it's just, it's good. Then next up we have the MP7 Scorch, and like the other skin, someone just went to town with some spray paint, and it looks pretty awful. It looks better than the other one, but that's like a different level of F tier. I still can't see a reason to really use this. That just looks ugly. Then next up we have the MP7 Prey, which it's just pretty basic. You got some like little stripes coming down with a somewhat gray background. It's not completely awful, but it really doesn't have a lot going for it other than just like the darker color scheme. So I think it's just kind of a D tier. I'd actually probably use stock over it. Then next up we have the MP7 Orange Peel. Nice, well, not nice, I guess. I gotta say, just from the preview, it has like a nice orange color, but the way that orange color is applied on such a shitty background actually makes this thing kind of suck. It might be the only option if you're going for like an orange Load or something, because there's really not that many orange skins in the game, but it looks pretty bad. I can't really justify using this. It looks like the spray paint skins, but like with random orange stripes, and very, very random orange stripes. Not like the usual where I say random and it's not actually random. You can kind of see what they were going for. Like here, this is just random. And it does not look good. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a simple F tier, yet again. Then next up, we have the MP7 Gunsmoke. This one is super clean. I really like the pattern on the Gunsmoke, and then the white and brown color scheme, like the kind of cow color scheme, I really like the look of as well. It looks just pretty solid. I mean, I really do like the pattern. I don't know why, I can explain to you why, but I just like the way like all the smoke and the colors go together and everything on here. And overall, it's a pretty solid MP7. I'd say pretty hard to go wrong with, so I'm actually going to put this all the way up in B tier. Possibly higher if all the other MP7s are as bad as what we've seen so far. Then we have the MP7 Motherboard. I mean, yeah, you have like a motherboard on the skin, but only like a third of the skin. Well, it's more than a third. It's like 2/3 of the skin is the motherboard, then 1/3 is just completely stock. Maybe if it applied to the whole skin it'd be better, but even then I think it'd look pretty awful. This just does not work on the MP7. Maybe it looks better in game. I don't really know, but here it just looks like a basic green skin, except unlike all the other green MP7s, it's only half a skin. So for me, that's like a low D tier. I just would not really be using this. Then next up, we have the MP7 Tall Grass, and it's just a better green skin. But it has like a kind of worse design. I mean, it's literally like grass like coming up the weapon, except down here it's just not. And like instead of having it be stock at the parts where the other thing was stock, it has like a similar-ish green color where you'd have to at least look for a little bit to notice that the color's different. But it doesn't look particularly amazing. It's still just like a pretty shitty pattern with an overall green coloring. I mean, it's alright-ish, I guess, but I think it's still a low D tier. Then next up, we have the MP7 Vault Heist, which I've never heard of before. Then this one's alright. I'm assuming it doesn't look as metallic normally. I don't know. If it looks this metallic, then it's not as nice. And the pixelation, I know that's like a bug with my specific video settings, and I keep forgetting how to fix it and just not doing it. But yeah, normally it's not this pixelated. But even with that, I mean, it's got it overall. It's like 90% stock with a bit of yellow writing on it. I think it looks a little bit worse than stock, but still usable, and I could see why someone might kind of like those little like golden particles, but for me, it's just a slightly worse version of stock. But I could see an argument for someone using this over stock, so I'll put it in D tier. Then we have the MP7 White Out. This is just a nice clean skin. I mean, it's a nice white MP7. Absurdly clean, absurdly bright, very noticeable, and just you can do a lot with this thing, especially with stickers, a lot of potential there. Or even without stickers, it just looks amazing on its own. I'd say it's probably just an S tier. I mean, I love whiteouts. They're just, the cleanliness of a whiteout is pretty hard to beat when it's done right. Then we have the MP7 Anodized Navy, and this one's like the motherboard, except it has a better centerpiece. Like instead of some random motherboard design that clashes with the stock, it has like just a basic anodized blue that kind of works a little with the stock. I think it's just a slight upgrade to stock, very slight, but I would use this thing over stock. I do like that color blue, and it does work well with the rest of the weapon, so for me it's a high D tier, I guess. Then next up, we have the MP7 Full Stop. And this one's just like a red camo skin, except only like half of it is, and the texture's kind of clashing with itself. You can see on the right here, it like randomly cuts off halfway through the camo and starts at a different point in the camo. This thing's kind of a mess, and I guess it's a somewhat unique color scheme, but I think it's kind of beyond redemption. Unless you like the specific colors here, I can't really see a reason to use it. Then we have ourselves the MP7 Teal Blossom, which just, yeah, super dull, different color of green, I guess, but it's just really dull and pretty iffy pattern with a general green coloring. I think the color green here used is way worse than the others though, so it's at the bottom of D tier. Next up, we have the MP7 Skulls. I remember I used this one for a bit, and it's, I could see why. It's got a decent design to it. You know, you got like the nice skulls there, and then the purple mag, it does clash with the main design, but it kind of works with it. I couldn't explain to you why. And it's nice to have something that sticks out, like one little thing that sticks out about your skin, and the purple mag is a very nice way to do that. Very basic design, but it's very nice, it's very functional. I think it's pretty decent. You know, I'll put it at like C tier, probably mid C tier. I think it goes under that Maze MP7. That thing was actually kind of nice. Then we have ourselves the MP7 Urban Hazard, and this is one I've actually used for ages. I'm pretty sure I've used this one like since I started playing. Yeah, I mean, this one, if you like orange, it's got nicer orange, and then it's got a basic like gray camo, but it's not too obvious or like too prevalent that it's a camo skin. You're more focused on the nice orange outline, and then the camo is just kind of a clean-ish backdrop to go with it. And overall, it also cleaned up the parts that were stock. Like, the stock parts are, like, I don't know, there's no scratches or anything you can see on the mag and whatnot. And it just, you know, it's got a nice color scheme, it's got an okay design. I think it's a pretty solid skin, and I'm gonna actually start moving stuff around because there's not many MP7s left, so this thing's promoted to B tier, and then the Gunsmoke is up in A tier. Anyway, then we have the MP7 Arm Recorder, which, yeah, it's like a side variant to stock. Honestly, I like it less than stock personally, but some people might like it a bit more. What you do definitely get is this nice shiny top part, but I don't know. I don't like the extra added details. I think it's a bit much, and you know, it's not so much that it's like cool. It's just a little bit, and I think like it's just kind of a downgrade to stock. But I could see it again, like with the heist one. I could really see an argument for why this might be better than stock and why someone might want to use it. But it's not like an amazing skin or anything. It's just a kind of a side option to stock. Then we have the MP7 Cirrus, and you know, this one's pretty good. Very nice color blue with a pretty mediocre design. It seems like they were trying to go for like a 3D type of look with the stuff back here, but it just doesn't look 3D. And to be fair, it's kind of rough when you're competing with a lot of the skin creators, because some of the skin creators are just insane in the way they can make a completely 2D texture look three-dimensional. This person put in like a little bit of effort and tried to make their 2D thing look 3D, but it just does not work. You could easily tell there's like no sense of depth on the back here or the bottom. So all those parts are kind of ruined, but the actual color blue is just really nice, even if the pattern itself and the design is kind of iffy. Just for the color alone, I think this is a C tier. Probably right around the skull, maybe even above it, depending on who you ask. But yeah, the design's kind of shit. They I don't know, they didn't spend enough time on it, I guess, or maybe they just didn't know. Because this, I mean, there's from the glove collection. The knowledge of how to make skins look 3D, I think, was out there at this point. So there's not really a lot of excuses, but it is a nice color blue. So yeah. Then we have the MP7 Accaben, which interesting. It's like zebra stripes, but instead of usual white and black, it's yellow and it's like a weird color blue. It's alright. It's nothing crazy. I'd say it's actually probably just a D tier. I don't really like it that much. But I can't really say it's as bad as most of the bottom of D tier, so I'll just put it toward the top. And yeah, I think that's where it goes. Then next up, we have the MP7 Mischief, which, yeah, this reminds me of that one, what skin is it for? I think it might be Goliath's skin? Or like a sawed off or something. But there's some, or maybe some Mag 7. There's like a basic skin where there's just like a random like shark tooth in the front here. And that's what this reminds me of, except it's, you know, across the entire skin you can see a nice like row of teeth with like super, it's not grainy, but you know what I mean. There's like a nice texture to it, that makes you kind of see it. I don't know, it seems like more aggressive. The color scheme's also pretty nice. I mean, they could have maybe changed the colors of the stock parts of the gun, but they aren't awful with the design. And the design's pretty decent, so I think this is an okay skin. I think it's probably a low C tier. It's very usable, but not particularly amazing. Then we have the MP7 Gorilla, and this is just your basic camo skin. It's just a camo skin. I mean, if you like camo skins, this is probably the one I would pick, but I don't really like them, so this is going to the bottom of D tier. Then next up we have my current MP7, the MP7 Fade, which is alright. I actually don't like this variant where it has the gray or like silver. Normally it's like, you know, yellow, pink, and purple. I think if I still have mine out, which I think I do, maybe if I'm, yeah, there we go. You can see I like the yellow, pink, and purple a bit more. I personally think it looks a lot nicer. But yeah, you can see it's, I mean, it's something. I mean, it's nothing amazing actually. It's just alright. It is still like half stock, which is kind of noticeable for me, especially when I'm using the same game. But I don't use the MP7 a lot, so yeah, I figured I'd get something that's known to be a bit nice. And I do like the actual Fade design, but the fact that half the skin is stock does take away a lot from me, to the point that I think this is honestly just probably like a mid C tier. It had potential to be better, but they just didn't use most of the skin, which kind of defeats the whole point of the Fade. Anyway, we have the Ocean Foam. This one's awful, just straight up, just like the P2000 Ocean Foam. The texture is just really bad. Low quality ocean texture, and then it has an awful shine to it, and it still is also half stock. It just does not look good. I would never be caught using this thing. It just doesn't look good. Probably the best thing in F tier, but it's very much an F tier skin. And then next up we have the MP7 Special Delivery, and this one's kinda cool. It's like a postage stamp on a skin, which I actually think is really unique and actually looks really cool the way they did this. I really like the way the pattern and like kind of works into the skin. And this is more of how you do 3D, right? When you look like this looks like a lot more three-dimensional than that other skin that was just very clearly 2D. I mean, in bad lighting like this, it's kind of noticeable that it's 2D, but like most of the time you're gonna be playing like this, or you know, your point is it's gonna look 3D to you, and the actual design is really cool, the colors are really cool, they even like wash it up a bit to make it look like a used stamp or whatever. I think this is a really dope skin. I think it's deserving of probably high B tier, possibly low A tier, considering how little skins we have left. I'm definitely gonna have to move stuff around. But yeah. Then next up, we have the MP7 Empire, which, yeah, it's a MP7 covered in imps. They all got like different kind of designs. I'm assuming just like the op-paw and stuff, that this one's somewhat pattern-based. But unlike the op-paw, there's not a lot of uniqueness to these imps. They're either like smiling, like screaming, and then they have their eyes. There's a guy who's like angry down here, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's with a lot of these skins, what I like about like the op-paw, for example, and why it's one of my more liked skins, is because there's so much uniqueness to all the little characters in the camo. And this one, I feel like a lot of these guys are kind of interchangeable, other than like specifically like the super laughing guy and the angry guy, I feel. Yeah, I mean, it's still decent. I think if you want to get a green MP7, which you have a lot of options to be fair, but I think this is probably the best one we've seen so far. Pretty nice, like, pattern, very nice colors. I think it's probably high C tier. Then next up, we have ourselves the MP7 Power Core, yet another green MP7. This one just looks like whatchamacallit, like farming tools, like John Deere. It's literally just looks like a John Deere MP7. Pretty clean, you know, decent colors, but like very clear, like factory made. So it's pretty decent. I'm probably gonna put it yet again high C tier, and I think I'm gonna move the skulls above that stuff. Yeah, I think that's more reasonable. And then next up we have the MP7 Neon Ply, which is an interesting take on the blue ply that you see in a lot of other skins. This one changed colors. Okay, it doesn't. But yeah, it's basically a bunch of different colors on like plywood. It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever like painted, or not painted, like colored a t-shirt, if you know what I mean. I did that like once in school or something. That's what this reminds me of. It's like someone painted the wood with that type of like wet soaking method or whatever. And it looks alright. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but it definitely isn't bad. I could see why a lot of people might like this, and for me it's just a pretty decent skin, probably deserving of a higher C tier placement. Then next up we have ourselves the MP7 Nemesis, and this one's pretty dope. Got this cool ass guy in the back, and then overall just a solid looking gun with a nice yellow outline to it. I mean, yeah, it's pretty dope design, pretty decent colors. I'd say it's probably a low B tier. Then next up we have ourselves the MP7 Abyssal Apparition. I guess this is the Dream of Night weird one. That's why I haven't seen it that much in game. But this one actually looks pretty dope. You have a very nice like orangish yellow glow on the top, and then this like I don't know what this effect's called, but I really like the effect they have here. From, like monster, just coming out, rising up to like eat or whatever. It's just the colors on this are amazing. The pattern is pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, it draws your attention. It looks pretty nice. It's got some nice colors, got a nice design. It's pretty hard to go wrong with this one. I'd say it's probably a decent B tier pick. And then our final MP7 skin before we rebalance the tier list, because there's apparently just not that many good skins, is the MP7 Bloodsport, which, it's like your racing, heavily sponsored MP7. It's got decent colors to it, but it has a bit too much going on for me to actually like the pattern. So yeah, I mean, that's about all there is to say about that one. I think it's probably run-of-the-mill, low C tier. And now to rebalance the tier list, I think the White Out really is just on its own. It's kind of hands down the best MP7 skin. Gunsmoke in a decent second place. I think these two we can move up to A tier as well. And then I think we can probably move up these three to B tier to kind of balance out the tier list a bit more. And I think that's realistically a decent tier list for the MP7 skins. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with anything that I said here, because I probably had some decent hot takes here. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed looking at these skins as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.